Hey guys, I'm so excited to have Marie and Jake here today. We're going to do a little mini mastermind for you, ask them some questions about Instagram and growing a brand, and hear a little bit of their story. Cool.
Sounds great. We are looking forward to this.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to start?
About us.
Yeah, about us.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you guys and your story to kick us off. I'm sure a lot of the guys watching have been following you for a while, but it's still interesting to hear your story.
I'll start. Well, back in 2016, Marie and I met in Thailand, and our worlds collided, basically. We fell in love, and we didn't let that love go to waste. We did some crazy things following that meeting, and within about a month, we were traveling the world together, taking photos and just living our best life. It's a long story, so I won't get into it too much. But at the start of 2017, Marie and I got a job at a winery together, and we decided we wanted to save up as much money as we could. And we also decided that in that time that because Marie's from Germany, I'm from Australia, how are we going to make our life work together?
Yeah.
We come from the opposite sides of the world, and so we decided at that time we needed to be location independent, which meant we had to be online. And so we thought, how can we be online? How can we make an income one day from anywhere in the world?
So pretty much from a wait up to 4 years later, here we are. We work online. We live in Bali right now. We have a lot of social media channels, and we're super happy that we went that way.
So we have 730,000 Instagram followers. We have about 60,000 YouTube followers, 350,000 TikTok followers. And through those social media channels, we've been able to build a really successful business for ourselves. And we've been able to earn a really good income and create a lifestyle that we have dreamt of ever since we met. So yeah, we're really happy. That's what we've been able to do, and I think we'll be able to get into more details as we go.
And I bet when you were first starting out, Marie, you celebrated your 30th birthday last week.
Yes.
I bet it would have been hard to even imagine that by 30 you could have achieved such financial independence, location independence, to be having such a thriving business. When you guys were first starting out, what did your friends and family think of this new endeavor? Were they all on board and supportive?
All right, I'm going to start from my side. So when I was 25, I quit my job. I had a corporate job in Germany for almost 6 years, and I decided I needed a change, and that's when I met Jake. He came into my life. And then my family and my friends were obviously asking, okay, so what are you going to do with your future now? You gave away your job, your career. And I just trusted that we would find something together that we would make happen. And when we first started saying we're trying to build an Instagram or we're trying to go online, everyone was just kind of laughing at us, saying, yeah, right, this is not a real job.
This is for selfies, not for business.
Yeah, both of our families had no understanding, or they couldn't grasp what we were actually doing. And in the beginning, Marie and I, we didn't have a full idea of what it could potentially turn out to be. But in the beginning, we both knew that if we could build an online audience, a large group of people who were like-minded, like us, interested in the same things, one day that would provide a huge amount of value to us and to the way we would like to live in the future. And so we knew in the beginning that building up this online presence, learning skills, learning how to take great photos, make great videos, capture an audience's attention, we knew that there was a lot of value in that, but our family and our friends just saw Instagram as, for selfies and for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult in the beginning.
It was.
To explain to our parents, what we were actually doing. And in the beginning, we didn't really know. If we could go back, we would just tell our families and our friends that creating social media accounts and building online audiences is like creating a customer base, basically. I mean, that's the business side of it. But what you're doing is you're building up a large amount of people that will support you and that are loyal to you and that will help you throughout the rest of your life. And it's like a market. That's what it is. It's marketing now.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't understand when they think about investing time into growing social media platforms. It is a lot of work. You don't just lay by the pool and snap a quick photo and then suddenly wake up with hundreds of thousands of followers. A lot of work goes into it, but it is building up an asset. Anytime you have a relationship with people, you have a connection of people, a community who knows, likes, and trusts you, who values your opinion and who you've worked so hard to build that trust with, then of course that's an asset for things to come.
Yeah.
If you could go back and offer one piece of advice or reassurance to your past selves, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing for me would be Jake and I met in 2016, and that's when we started, or Jake was already making little GoPro videos and we started to take photos. But it took us about, I think, 1.5 years until we realized we actually need to grow those skills up to a point where we can see it as a job. In those 1.5 years, if we would have found the right videos to learn from it, or the right mentors, or even something that could teach us much quicker, it would have a lot of time just arguing about the right editing style or how to take a proper photo. And just a lot of work would have gone into, it would have been much quicker.
There's an element of that for sure. Everybody has to go through the learning process, but you can make that easier for yourself.
Sure.
Marie and I went through a lot of trial and error, and you know, we have taken and edited tens of thousands of photos now. And we didn't really have anyone to show us the way.
Yeah.
So I think now, going back, a big lesson we would tell ourselves is to get mentors, get support, get help, surround yourself with other people doing the same thing. And another lesson I would just like to add is that we were not confident whatsoever in the beginning, being in front of the camera. We weren't confident in that people would actually care about what we had to say.
Doing stories as well.
Doing stories and with our family and our friends saying everything that they were saying, loaded on top of that, it was a really difficult time. So what we would tell ourselves is to just be confident, go out there.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, but just be yourself and share what you love and share your truth. If you're really passionate about something and you have a message that you want to get out to people, share it and be confident when you share it, because it will provide people value, and we know that now. So we know that now, that a lot of people are interested in inspiration and support, and nobody is the same. So, but people will have the same kind of problems in their life. They will have the same ups and downs. So if you talk about those things and you help people through that, you can create a really loyal, amazing following.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, that sharing vulnerability and connection and talking about real things, it not only helps you to grow a following, but it helps you to grow a relationship with them. And I think that's one of the key differences between people I see who have a lot of followers but not a lot of influence, and people who have built a real connection with their audience, is how much have you had a why behind your message? How much have you shared, you know, genuine, meaningful things to you, vulnerabilities, fears, goals, etc. That's all of the things that I think build that really authentic connection.
100%. Couldn't say it better. Yeah, you got to find that why, and you got to be genuine, authentic, and really care about those people.
Because at the end of the day, it is a relationship. It's easy to look at artificial numbers of metrics, like I have X number of followers, or I have, you know, this many views, or this many likes, or this many impressions. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters in taking a following into a business is, have you earned people's trust? What are some of the ways, and this wasn't one of our questions that I wrote down, so I'm just going to spring this one on you. What are some of the ways that you think you have earned that trust with your audience compared to, you know, I see a lot of influencers jumping on every sponsored promo they can, or maybe sharing things that aren't always authentic to themselves. What were some of those decisions that you guys made early on that you think have contributed to the trust that you have with your audience?
The most important thing for us was definitely that we didn't need to make money through Instagram for the first 2 years, because we had that job in Australia for 3-4 months a year that just made us enough money to last for another 8 months of traveling. And therefore we just treated Instagram like a platform where we could chat to our friends. Eventually anyone who started following us was a friend of ours, and we just tried to share the things we learned, how we got together, how we're traveling. We really tried to be as genuine as possible and just treat them as one of us.
And if you go back to what Marie and I were doing before we started Instagram, it looks exactly like pretty much what we're doing now. You know, regardless of having the Instagram, if Marie and I were still together, which we obviously would be, we would be traveling, taking photos and sharing and trying to help people, because that's just who we are. So we never had to live a life that was different to what we would actually live. And so I think for advice for anybody out there to create a real genuine audience is make sure that what you're doing is what you're really passionate about. And you know, don't become a fashion blogger if you don't like fashion. Don't travel the world if it really makes you uncomfortable to try and become a travel influencer. You really have to do what you really love, because then you'll be able to share it in a really genuine, authentic way. But the other thing is just value with no expectation of getting anything back in return. I think, like Marie said, we were earning all of our money from the winery, and it didn't matter to us whether we made anything from Instagram. And we didn't force the income from Instagram. We could have easily taken brand deals in the beginning for watch brands, for fashion labels, all of this kind of stuff. We could have easily done it, but we didn't want to sell to our audience in a way that wasn't real. And we didn't want to sell something that we wouldn't buy. I think that's the number one thing. And Marie and I were backpackers. We didn't have a lot of money in the beginning, so we would save everything we could to travel. And so that's in the beginning, we couldn't be saying, hey, buy all of this stuff, but also save for travel. It doesn't really go hand in hand.
That does mean that you can't do sponsored posts, but what Jake is saying is just make it authentic. If you believe in that product because it's a good skin product and your skin was bad before and now it's amazing, then you can tell that story. If you talk about something online that you eventually talk about anyway all day because you love it, that's what you should do.
It's the perfect opportunity.
I think a good rule is, would you be sharing this product with your audience if you weren't getting paid for it or you didn't get the product for free? And if the answer is a no, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Especially in the beginning, because we're talking about building a relationship that's loyal. You really need to make sure that you are just being your most authentic self and you're not selling anything apart from the value that you're giving to people for free.
If someone emailed you today and said, I'm going to give you $25,000 to promote this product, but it wasn't a product that you believed in or that aligned with your values, maybe it wasn't good quality or it wasn't sustainably made, what would you say?
No.
Definitely
Straight
no.
No.
And if that's a good deal, you could get a different deal for a product that would have good value. So just don't make it.
Has this happened? Have you got any?
Well, I've always said that if McDonald's came to us and McDonald's said, Marie and Jake, we'll pay you $1 billion to work for us and to promote this new vegan burger, we would still say no, because it goes against everything. Even if people would say, oh, but then you can donate that money or something. But this is like a moral code, so that we would always stick to that. And I think that's really important. And people nowadays, especially, can see straight through disingenuous content. It's really easy to pick up whether or not someone is being paid for something or not, or whether it's actually a proper, saying, hey guys, this product we totally recommend it.
I've got a couple of questions here from people who are checking in, so I thought I would share that with you. Equipment. This is a big question. A lot of people feel like they need to have, a $10,000 camera or all this crazy gear. Realistically, what do you think someone needs to start building up a community on social media?
Honestly, for a community on social media and you're not a content creator and creating professional photos for brands or hotels, if you have a really good iPhone, let's say, or phone in general, that's already good enough to take good photos if you know a bit about photography.
Yeah. Marie and I, this is a story on our Instagram that we talk about quite a lot. After our first stint at the winery, we saved $30,000, and I went and spent $12,000 of that 30 straight away on camera equipment. If I could go back now,
You would spend more.
no, I wouldn't spend more. Maybe I wouldn't think that I needed that so much.
Yeah.
But then again, technology has changed so much now, where an iPhone 11, for example, with the wide screen or with the wide camera, you're able to take really crisp, really nice content all on your phone. Beautiful photos, you can edit them in Lightroom on your phone, you can use presets and everything. So now to be able to grow an audience, you really only need an iPhone 11, and then what Marie and I always talk about, it's about telling a story. That is the most important thing.
Do you quickly want to mention one or two cameras that we started with that it's a good budget for someone who wants to go into content
Yeah,
creation?
well, there's two sides of this. If you just want to start to build an audience and start to learn how to create, you can use a mobile phone. If you want to get into the side of the business where you're creating content for brands and hotels and things like that, you can't rock up with an iPhone 11 and be like, I'm going to create photos and videos for you.
Yeah.
They probably won't see it very professional. So you want to start with a DSLR camera. Sony has great DSLRs in the $2,000 range. One of our favorite is the Panasonic GH5, which is mid-range, quite cheap, great camera for video and photo. And also we have right now a Canon EOS R, which is a mirrorless, and that's a great middle of the range camera too.
And if you would have one lens?
One lens, like a 12 to 35 lens. Any of those cameras will last you years. You don't need more than that until you start to earn enough income to be able to warrant that you're upgrading. And Marie and I, when we started earning income, we didn't upgrade anything from that 12,000 until we started earning something, and then we thought now we can start to upgrade. But yeah, that would be enough to start with. And then if you're creating content for brands and stuff, drone and a GoPro, so you can get 3 different types of shots: action shots, bird's eye view kind of shots.
What GoPro would be okay?
Like a GoPro 6, but not a lot of hotels and stuff would be looking for that content.
That's more the adventure style.
When you throw that at like maybe a pool shot where you're jumping in the water, people really like to see that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I think the key there is that don't let lack of equipment hold you back from starting.
Yes.
You can start with what you have right now, whether that's an old hand-me-down camera or something you pick up from a second-hand store or your mobile phone. Investments in gear are amazing and they're valuable, and it can often help you progress to that next level, particularly if you're focused on the content creation side of things. But it should always be an investment in your career and your future, not a hurdle that holds you back from starting.
And we all have to remember too that 90% of people these days are viewing their content from their mobile phones. So the phones are only this big, so people can't really see the difference.
Doesn't need to be 57 megapixels.
Like an iPhone photo and a DSLR photo are very hard to tell the difference on a mobile screen unless you are a professional. Like you can see it pretty quick, but most people can't. So that's why you don't really need all of that equipment now, because it's all for a mobile.
Yeah, and one of the other big differences between shooting on a phone and shooting on a camera is just the flexibility it gives you. Sometimes you have to work a little bit harder with a phone to make sure you're shooting at the right lighting or you're shooting at the right distance. Whereas having a good camera, you can shoot in lower light conditions, or you can shoot more wide angle or more macro. But again, it's about investing once you're there, not letting it hold you back from starting. I know people with crazy successful careers who started getting paid for photography or for content creation or building a successful audience with a phone or a $500 hand-me-down camera. It doesn't have to be new.
To be honest, most of our recent videos that have done extremely well and got a lot of views and people have really liked have been phone photos, and we've spent months editing photos for videos for YouTube that haven't done as well. Because a lot of people love to see raw content nowadays. They want to feel like they're actually there. So in some ways, it's even better to create raw content from your mobile phone. You have TikTok now, you've got Instagram stories, everything is vertical now.
And you have amazing apps on the phone where you can even cut the videos.
And so what that means too is that if you have all of your content in your phone, you can easily put them into an app to edit and you can easily upload them. And so there's no plugging it into your laptop, bringing it over, editing it, exporting it, and then getting it up. You can put out more and more and more content, which is also key. The more content you put out, the better you're going to do in the long run, and you just have to keep putting it out. So if that means doing it all on your phone, we would totally recommend that.
You say raw, like just shooting it in the moment and authentically, but how important do you think photography skill in knowing how to use the right lighting and composition and framing and editing, how important was that in growing, do you think?
Extremely important, yeah. And it came from just a sheer amount of time that we were taking photos.
Yeah, but also like hearing bits here and there, people only shoot in the morning and afternoon light, and we in the beginning were like, why? Until we saw the difference.
I think one of the reasons for that, and this is kind of just speculation, is people want to feel like they're there. And the more accurately you can edit, the better you can capture the lighting and the scene, the more real it feels. When people watch your stories, they feel like they're sitting in your living room. Whereas often if you don't have that photography skill, and there's things that you can learn very quickly, it feels like a photo, or it feels like bad lighting. It feels like there's this disconnect between you and the story that you're engaging with.
Learning how to take photos and then edit them, and the same for video, is the crucial aspect of being able to be successful in this industry. If you can't do those things, you will never be able to get anywhere. And so it doesn't matter how many followers you have or anything, it's about being able to create good content and exactly being able to recreate that moment that you had. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people mention to us, don't you think that it's cheating to edit these photos and to make the water look bluer than what it is, or to make to add in little bits and pieces? And our answer to that is no, not at all. Because when we're traveling and when you're in a place, the smell and the sound and the sights, everything you're seeing, it cannot ever be recreated in a photo. But editing it and trying to boost it up and trying to get it to a point where maybe people will go, wow, that's amazing. It might get them to that place, and then the experience for themselves will be better than any photo they've ever seen. So it's like you're just trying to make the photo get a little bit towards what it's like in real life.
I love that. Okay. Do you think that the market is too saturated? When you guys were starting, similar to us, we were traveling and being like a location independent digital nomad before that had a phrase. It wasn't a path that we followed. It was just something we stumbled upon. Do you think that now it's too saturated, that it's not possible to build a brand?
Definitely not. We talked about that yesterday even. If you think about even travel couples, because that's our niche, we would say there are less than 5,000 travel couples out there. And if you think about the entire world, that's a tiny amount. And on the other hand, think about it like that. When we started, we didn't have a lot of people that we could get inspiration from. If you would start now, you might even be able to grow your Instagram quicker in a way, or your skills quicker, because you have so many people that you can talk to. You already have a group of people that you can become friends with online, and that makes it so much easier to pick up those things.
It might be harder to grow right now on one platform, like on Instagram or YouTube or something like that, but the market is not saturated at all. We're going into a digital age where so many people are spending so much time online. And there's so much room for everybody to be able to be successful online. If you start a business on the street outside here, you're only going to get customers that walk past. But if you can start a business online, you have the entire world. And so that market is not saturated at all. And the thing is, if you learn how to create these photos and these videos and you immerse yourself in this industry, What's going to happen when Instagram starts to taper off? Something else will take its place, and then something else will take its place. So you want to be prepared for when that new thing happens. TikTok, no one knew about that 6 months ago or a year ago. And now, you know, people are getting millions of views, and sooner or later you'll be able to make an income just from TikTok. People already are. So it's not saturated at all. That's just an excuse.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's easy to say it's saturated, there's too many people doing it, but then if you really look around, how many influencers do you know? How many people do you know that actually work online?
To be honest, online can be a very safe place to be right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. With everything that the world is going through,
Yeah.
to be able to have a global audience. And while there's lots of other people out there now doing something online, everyone's got their own perspective to share. Everyone's got their own, you know, niche or spice to add to the conversation. Just like you don't end up with too many books or TV shows or movies. We have this endless capacity to connect. And I think that it's not about getting the whole world on board. There's 7 billion people in the world.
Exactly.
You don't need them all to be part of your community. You just need to find the community that resonates with your message and what you have to say. And we're seeing at the moment a big rise in the business viability of micro-influencers as well.
Yeah.
So people with 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 followers being able to build thriving businesses from that small amount, depending on how they structure, you know, the products and services that they sell, which is really cool.
I'm not sure where I read it, but I read it somewhere and it's so true. It's that you don't need 100,000 followers. You don't even need 10,000 followers. If you have 1,000 people, not followers, because you've got your real true fans and then you've got followers. If you have 1,000 true fans, people who are loyal, who support you, who are in your corner, who will be there for you. If you have 1,000 people, you'll be able to create a lifestyle and a business out of that, and you'll be able to live off that for the rest of your life.
Totally.
If you look after those people.
Yeah.
1,000.
And you think mathematically, 1,000 people buying a product from you that's worth $100, that's $100,000.
It adds up so quick. Exactly.
It's crazy. Okay, last question. I'm sure there have been a lot of bumps on the road in this journey, setbacks, moments where you didn't know if it would all work, where you doubted the direction that you were going or the steps that you were taking. How do you keep going through that? What are some of the tips you have for battling the imposter syndrome that I know we all face?
First of all, if you want to be your own boss, if you want to be self-employed, this is what you have to face. No one starts a business and goes and is very successful without those hurdles, without failing, without crying. We had so many moments, especially in the beginning, me being German as well. We are very correct and, you know, career focused. I was talking to Jake and I was saying, what are we doing here? How's our future going to look like? How are we going to be able to have kids? And yeah, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but you just have to understand that the failure is part of the process and it's super important. You can't give up and you just have to keep going.
And this industry is not for everybody, that's for sure, because you're not going to get a regular paycheck and there is a lot of uncertainty, but there's also a lot of room for exponential growth. And Marie and I started this journey 4 years ago, and now we have our own business and we can even purchase property and we can, you know,
you guys could retire today.
We could very much retire if we spent our money wisely now, which is just crazy. Like going from working in a winery 4 years ago to where we are now, that wouldn't have happened in any normal job.
Yeah.
So a normal job gives you safety, it gives you a safety net. You're going to get a regular paycheck. This doesn't so much. It's very uncertain, a lot of hurdles, a lot of things to learn, but incredible opportunities to blow the roof off everything and live a life that you just never would have imagined. But the failure, like Marie said, it's all a part of it, and without it, you're not going to get to where you want to be. It teaches you the lessons that you need to learn, and I think the best advice we can have for people who are going through it is to just trust in the process. Remember that the goal or the outcome is not what's important. It's the journey getting there. It's the lessons you learn. It's the skills that you're building. It's the network that you're creating. And if you put your head down and you keep working and you keep pushing past these things, you'll be better off for it in the long run. Your business might fail, but then the next one succeeds.
Yeah.
Or,
We had things that we started that didn't work out. We wanted to start a seasonal holiday club in Australia, and then we stopped that and realized Instagram is going better for us. So you just have to understand that some things work and then some don't, and then you keep going anyway.
But the wisdom that you're bringing in and the lessons you're learning is what's going to be valuable in the long run, and that's what's important.
And for me, and I feel like a lot of, maybe it's a female thing, but for me, like the security that wasn't there in the beginning was a big struggle. But I always remembered, worst case, I could go back to corporate jobs because I have so many more skills now that I used to have, and I'm a hard worker. Why wouldn't I find another job?
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you go back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah.
Best case, you build the life of your dreams. We would roll the dice on that for sure.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm sure that's been super interesting for everyone sitting at home. And if you guys have any questions, comment them on this video, and then we'll try and answer a couple of them later this week.
Sounds amazing. Thanks for having us, Tina.
Pleasure.
Exciting things to come.
Very exciting.